Hey there, YouTube viewers. Welcome to this week's video blog where I'm going to tell you all about how I rewired my brain for wellness. I'm Jennifer Ellis Schutz and you're watching the Wellness Code Academy channel where I chat about all things functional health as well as mindset, neural rewiring, wellness, the mind-body connection, energy-based healing modalities, and personal development from both the layperson and the practitioner perspective. Be sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking on the red subscribe button below and hit the bell to be notified so you don't miss a week's featured video. So a little bit of background on myself. In 2013, after many years of navigating the world of often disabling chronic health challenges brought on by chronic Lyme and company, toxic black mold exposure, and several traumatic life experiences, while also working in an extremely stressful and demanding career of being a high school Spanish teacher, I suffered a massive physical, psychological, and spiritual breakdown that forced me to walk away from my career and go on disability. And this came after exhausting countless different approaches to healing within both the conventional and holistic medicine arenas. You name it, I did it. I left no stone unturned. I did numerous IV treatments, too many to list really, many different prescription drug medications, countless supplement protocols, hyperbaric oxygen chamber, ozone insufflations, Rife machine, acupuncture, energy healing, cranial sacral therapy, and the list goes on and on and on. While I did experience temporary benefits from some of these approaches, others caused me harm, and ultimately none led to sustainable wellness. A year after the breakdown, I was still very much broken physically, mentally, and emotionally. I had very low stress resilience and was in bed more than I was out, some days upwards of 22 hours. And my husband and I were also financially busted, seeing that I had lost my income, and in the previous years, we had spent pretty much any extra money we had on treatments for me, keeping me vertical, which none clearly had worked as we had hoped. We did not have any more funds left for me to continue exploring any more of these costly treatments as we once did. And so at this time, the way I saw it, I had three main options. The first, to accept a life of disability. The second, to find the least painful way to end my own life. Yes, I am being very serious when I say that. And the third was to find new ways to heal that did not involve large financial expenditures. After spending a significant amount of time steeped in a victim mindset, feeling very sorry for myself, and blaming the universe for handing me a bad deck of cards, I ultimately chose number 3, which was to find new ways to heal that did not involve large financial expenditures. And this is when I read 2 books that changed the trajectory of my health and life. And the reason I am here today making this video, and those 2 books were, number 1, You Are the Placebo, Make Your Mind Matter by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and number 2, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. I read many other books beyond these books, but these were the 2 first catalysts for my new path. From this point forward, I knew the missing link to finding my way back to wholeness and wellness, alongside of diet and lifestyle changes, of course, was to rewire my brain and nervous system for wellness. I was definitely very much stuck in a limbic system trauma loop, meaning the alarm centers of my brain and nervous system were stuck in a perpetual state of on mode. And so I set my intention to do so, and I set out to learn everything I could about how to rewire my brain for wellness. And here is what I did. First and foremost, I took 100% full responsibility for my healing and my life. In other words, regardless of the many shitty things that happened to me in my life that were beyond my control, I had to let go of blame and stop playing the role of victim. I had to realize that nobody else, including doctors and health practitioners, could fix me. They could only serve as my guides. I had to heal me. Another part of taking 100% full responsibility was realizing that how we choose to respond to the events and circumstances in our lives largely dictates the outcomes we experience. During hard times, we are faced with a choice point to choose to respond per the script that our nervous systems have been reading from up to this point in our life, or take steps to begin writing a new, more nourishing script, a script that will allow us to transform the pain of where we are at into growth, wisdom, and higher level consciousness. And from a space of growth, wisdom, and higher level consciousness is where the nervous system begins to calm down, thus affording the body a much greater possibility of responding to biochemical-based interventions and thus deep healing to occur. But choosing new ways of responding does not come easily. No, it takes deep desire and commitment to want to change how we show up in the world along with daily practice, much the same way that it takes to learn how to play a new instrument, speak a second language, or sculpt one's muscles in the gym, which is why I have plenty more tips to share with you today. Number 2, I shifted my focus to view healing myself as my most important job, and also from fighting illness to building wellness. What do I mean by this? You see, healing is like we have a job that we want to keep. When we have a job that we want to keep, we need to conduct ourselves professionally or we'll be fired. In other words, we can't show up late, complain, blow things off when we don't feel like doing them, be sloppy in our work, etc., and expect to keep that job. Healing oneself from chronic health challenges is different in some ways, but not different in other ways. I could no longer spend my days complaining, engaging in destructive behaviors such as social media addiction, commiserating with other sick people in Facebook chronic illness support groups, staying up until all hours of the night doing obsessive internet research in hopes of finding the magical cure-all treatment protocol that was going to fix me of all my woes that did not exist, making poor lifestyle choices, blowing things off, making excuses, and the list goes on, and expect to get well. I came to realize that it was not my current position that mattered, but rather my trajectory. And my daily patterns largely dictated my trajectory. In coming to this realization, I had to take a long, hard look at all of my daily patterns, ditch the ones that served as health-blocking factors for me, and replace them with ones that supported my recovery instead of keeping me stuck in a vicious stress, pain, illness cycle. Third, I let go of attachments to outcomes and timelines for healing. When it comes to unraveling complex chronic health issues, I've learned that the body, mind, and spirit absolutely heal at their own pace and not a second before. And therefore, attaching to outcomes and timelines is futile. It only serves to create resistance in the body and lead to disappointment and discouragement. Instead, I simply continued to focus on building wellness the best I could each day with the attitude of, if I get well, great. And if I don't get well, I will accept that, but I will continue to focus on building wellness the best I can each day. Number 4, I had to realize that my value as a human being is not determined by my productivity or achievements, but rather how I relate to myself and others and how I show up in the world. Prior to getting sick, and for many years amidst my journey with chronic illness, I always measured myself, or my sense of self-worth, I should say, by my productivity, achievements, and income earned. Well, chronic illness took all 3 of these away from me. By continuing to embrace this mindset, I created so much shame, resistance, and tension in my body that it was impossible to heal. Because of this, I had to start realizing that my self-worth had nothing to do with how much money I earned, or what I accomplished, or what I produced in a day, but rather had everything to do with how present I was in each moment, how I treated myself and others, the quality of my thoughts and daily habits, and how I showed up in the world. And lastly, I implemented various mindfulness and brain and nervous system rewiring practices into my daily routine with intention, persistence, and consistency. While it's not feasible for me to review all the different techniques I implemented, I will tell you that the most integral ones were as follows. First, I became extremely mindful of the language I chose to use in both spoken and written form. In other words, I stopped using language that focused on illness and how shitty I felt every day and started to talk about everything that I was doing to build wellness. And a big part of this was removing myself from all chronic illness Facebook support groups. Secondly, meditation, specifically neurosculpting meditations, which are very specific meditations designed for helping one prune back painful, destructive mind stories and replace them with new, more nourishing and empowering ones. I ultimately ended up getting certified in this modality, and now I use it in my practice and in my health coach certification program, the Wellness Code. Third, daily targeted writing based on neuroscientific principles aimed at self-discovery, emotional healing, raising my vibration, and neural rewiring. I have since created an ebook of all the prompts that I created for myself, and I now use it in both my one-on-one coaching and in the Wellness Code health coaching certification program with the practitioners that I train. Fourth, trauma release exercises, also known as tremor release exercises, with the abbreviation of TRE, which is a technique created by Dr. David Berceli, aimed at triggering neurogenic tremors in the body to help release stored tension and trauma patterns from deep within the musculature of the body, particularly the psoas muscle, which is the main muscle of fight or flight. And lastly, visualization, multiple times per day, particularly at night before bed. I dedicated small chunks of time where I visualized myself well, the best and happiest, healthiest version of myself, and living life on my terms. And in doing so, I included as much detail as possible with as much positive emotion as I possibly could in that moment. And this is the basic gist of how I rewired my brain and nervous system for wellness and slowly but surely created a new life for myself. A life that is now based on wellness versus symptoms, illness, and disease. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, be well and be empowered.